Okay, so for those of you guys who are here with us via the stream, right, we will be kickstarting the session soon. Today's focus would be on euro dollar. And at the same time, if you have any questions or any chat requests, just feel free to type them under the questions chat. So we will be kickstarting the session shortly. Okay, so let's kickstart our session, right? Just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Lee Sing. You can also find me on LinkedIn, right? So for those of you guys who are watching this, if you're watching a recording of this, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. For those of you guys who are watching live with us, right, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them under the questions chat. So just a quick disclaimer, the information presented here is not to be treated as investment advice. It's solely for educational purposes only. So this is the agenda that we will be covering for today. Right, so first we will take a look at the key economic events, following which we will be taking a look at our trade setups. So today's focus will be mainly on dollar index and euro dollar, right? Following which, if you have any questions, just feel free to type them under the chat. So if you have any chat requests as well, just put them under the questions chat. Okay, so before we hop onto the charts, right, let's just take a look at the economic calendar first. So let me just bring that up. So this is the economic calendar that we have. Right, let me just do a new share. Okay, so I hope that you can see the economic calendar. So this is the one on Forex Factory. So you can alternate between this or Vantage Markets economic calendar, which also shows emerging markets. So you can go to Education and Tools, economic calendar. And you can see that these are the economic calendar. These are the events, right? So we have not just the majors, also the minors, as well as the emerging market currencies. So I'm just going to filter this according to the high impact news events. So with that, right, you can see that what we have currently, we have US core CPI data coming up. So this is one, right? And the other would be on Aussie. So Australia's labor data mainly. So those are the two main ones, right? So we're seeing quite a few high impact news events surrounding the dollar. And so on core retail sales data as well, this would give an indication of how resilient the domestic economy is. So these are the main ones that we have. Now with that, let's take a look at our setups. Right, so if I were to bring the setups out, so I hope you can see this. So let's take a look at dollar index first. So if you take a look at where dollar index is on the monthly time frame, you can see this region, right? So on the monthly, we want to focus on the most recent price movements. In this case, you can see that prices are testing a resistance then support area. We saw a strong rejection of this zone previously. And right now, prices are currently testing this region. Right, so within this move itself, you can see this whole pullback leg that we have on the monthly time frame. If we move down to the weekly time frame, this whole pullback leg itself, you can see bullish market structure, prices forming higher lows and higher highs. Now, within this zone, we saw a break and close to the upside above the last high, which is also this region here, this area, right? And right now, this is where we are currently. So on the weekly time frame, right, within this whole move, as long as price holds above this zone over here, right, we remain bullish on dollar index, just looking at the most recent movement, this region here. Now, one other thing to note with this is that we also want to highlight potential resistance areas that price could come into, right? Or it could potentially test. You can see on the weekly time frame, right? We have this zone here, which price tested multiple times, this region, right? So this area, you can see, even if I were to put these levels in close, you can see how this zone has been respected as both a support and resistance area. So this is where we are right now on the weekly time frame. If you move down to the daily time frame, on the daily, you can see this whole region, right? This whole move that we have to the upside. Currently, you can see this area itself, right? Prices are pulling back, right? Just pulling back into this zone. Right? We have a weekly demand here. At the same time, right, within the daily, you can see this move that we have on the daily, right? This region, prices are currently testing the support zone, right? So this is on the weekly. If you see where we are on the daily, you can see we're seeing this consolidation. And right now, prices are testing this region here. So this is the area on the daily, right? Potentially. So again, if price does come deeper into this zone, you can see this pullback that we have on the 4 hours or even down onto the 1 hour time frame, you'll start showing a bearish market structure. So within this whole pullback leg itself, what we're seeing here, you can see that prices are still forming lower lows and lower highs to the downside on the 4 hours, right? So if you see this whole leg, you can see that this whole leg is still bearish. And if I put these levels in close, you can see this very clearly as well. So prices forming lower lows, lower highs to the downside. So this is currently where we are right now, right? We have a resistance region that prices are testing. This area over here, right? So we could see a deeper push down to test the support zone that we have. This low that we have on the 4 hours. So I'll label this as the H4 low. Right, so this is the region and this is currently where we are right now. So if price starts coming into this area on the 4 hours time frame, again, we want to go down to the lower time frames to look for signs of reversal. So just to emphasize this, you can see that when price starts pulling back or it starts pushing into a resistance area, that price came in and tested several times previously, you can see that pushing into this zone, right, this whole leg that we have would be in a bullish market structure. You can see on the 1 hour time frame, prices forming clear higher lows and higher highs. So what are we looking for a potential reversal, right? Targeting this low that we have on the H1 that caused the pullback and the H4 low that we have here, right? We need to start seeing signs of reversal on the lower time frames. So if the H1 still remains bullish as where we are right now, you can see that it's still bullish, right? So if H1 still holds bullish, right, we could see price push much higher to the upside, respecting the daily demand area here. Okay. Okay, it seems that I'm getting some indication of technical issues via the app. Right, so are you guys also seeing this? Are you able to see my screen for those of you guys who are on the app? Let me just see if this works. Okay, great. So it's working for some of you guys, right? So Mohammed, maybe you can try restarting it again, right? See whether that works. Okay, so we have people who are able to see the screen. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Connor. Right, so maybe try starting it again. All right. Okay, so back onto our charts, right? So you can see on this, in this case, right, on dollar index, this is currently where we are right now. If you go down to the lower time frames, on the 1 hour, you can still see very clear bullish structure. Even if I were to put these levels in close, you can see this whole leg, right? Very clear higher lows, higher highs to the upside. So if we do see any reversal at this point, we need to see price breaking the last low or breaking structure first, right, for an indication of that reversal. So if you're on the 1 hour, you can see that this is the low that we have, or the close here. Right, so ideally this region, or if you want to be more conservative, right, it's basically the support area that we have over here. So if you take a look at this, you can see that price broke structure to the upside. So this is the last low that broke structure. So if you look at this area, you can see that this region itself, price broke and closed to the upside. This area, right? So this is the last low that we have that serves as the demand. So as long as price holds above this, right, on dollar index on a 1 hour, it's still bullish. So we need to wait for a break and close to the downside of this zone. Let me just put this in a different color, right? Let's put this in red, right? The downside confirmation level, right? So only when price breaks this zone could we see a deeper move to the downside, right? On the H1, right? This is the low that caused the pullback targeting this zone. So this would be the region, this low here. And then subsequently, right, it will be this area, which is the H4 low. Okay, so that's on dollar index, right? Now let's take a look at euro dollar, right? And we have requests for gold. So yep, I'll be taking a look at gold as well. So let's take a look at euro dollar first. Right, so on euro dollar, let's see where we are right now. So you can see on euro dollar on the higher time frame first. Let me just remove all this. It's on the higher time frame. On the monthly, we can see this region, right? So previously price, this whole move to the upside, you can again see very clear higher lows, higher highs, price breaking structure. We have this zone over here. You can see this region, which essentially price tested as a support region. Right? So you can see price testing it as a resistance, breaking and closing to the upside, and then retesting this zone again as a potential support. Right? When we highlight this region, you can see that just on the monthly, right, even if I were to put these levels in close, you can see clear higher lows and higher highs. The last move that we have on the monthly, price did not break above the zone. So this low that causes the pullback, right, this is a potential target for us on the monthly time frame. Okay, so that's where we are right now on euro dollar. If you take a look at the weekly, you can see that on the weekly time frame, this whole move has just been bearish. Right? This whole move to the downside, prices on structure, if you take a look at it, just the recent price movement, prices are again forming bearish market structure, clear lower lows and lower highs. Right, so not much on the weekly, right? This whole move, it's still bearish. If you take a look at it on the daily time frame, you can see on the daily, right, within the last move itself, we have price breaking and testing the zone. You can see this region over here, which acts as the previous support before it failed. So this region that we have in red, you can see that previously, right, price came in. We saw a test of this zone as a support, and then previously or subsequently, right, price actually failed this zone. And we're seeing a retest of this region currently. So at this point, right, there are two things we can do with this, right? When price starts coming into this resistance area, right, this pullback, you can see that this whole region that caused the pullback, it created potential targets for us, and it's this region here. You can see this area on the 4 hours. Right, so this is on the 4 hours time frame. So you can see that when price pulled back into this zone, right, this whole move to the downside, right, we have a 4 hours potential target here. That's on the daily time frame. Right, so this is currently where we are right now. You can see on the 4 hours, right, this is reversal. You can see this whole move that we're seeing, right? We're seeing clear lower lows and lower highs to the downside. Right, so right now on the 4 hours, what we have over here, right, this region, you can see that this area here, right, this area that caused the pullback, right, we want to zoom into this leg. Basically, what we're trying to find, as long as the target is not reached, this region is not reached, we're trying to find potential areas to sell, right, targeting this zone here. Right, so those are potential regions, but again, right, big part of it, it's also dependent on the lower time frames if there are any signs of reversal. So if you take a look at where we are on the 1 hour time frame, you can see within this zone itself, we have this supply. So this region here, right, you can see that we have this support area that consistently fails. And in the downtrend, right, recall we talk about how lower lows are constant targets, whereas the highs themselves can be potential for reversal. So at this point, right, what we have on the 1 hour time frame, or even on the 4 hours, right? So pretty much the same thing, right? Looking at this whole move that we have here, you can see that on the 1 hour and 4 hours, right? We have this region that serves as a resistance. It's probably clearer on the 4 hours time frame. The 1 hour time frame. You can see this zone where price tested as a support and then failing it, and currently is testing this region again as a resistance. So this is the 1 hour resistance area that we have, right? So within this whole move, right, we can target this low over here. But once this low has been reached, right, again, we need to look at the lower time frames and determine whether there's a change in direction in the market. So at this point, right, this is where we are right now. So on the 1 hour, right, this is the whole move. You can see this is the move to the downside. And if we do see any potential pullback, this is a potential resistance zone. Right, so this whole move itself, we can take a retracement of this move from high to low. Oops. Right, so using a retracement, taking the highest point to the lowest point, you can see the 38.2% retracement lining up with this zone. So what we're trying to do here is that we're trying to identify if there are any retracement levels that lines up with the resistance areas, right? Given that almost at every interval, you will be seeing a Fibonacci retracement. So we're trying to identify the zones that potentially would line up with a retracement. So at this point, right, this is the 1 hour time frame. So this is currently where we are right now. If you move back to the 4 hours time frame, you can see that this is also a potential area, right? So this region here, right, it's a potential level that we can target, right, with a further move to the downside, right? And if this is where we see a pullback from here, right, of course, this whole pullback leg that we have, right, pushing into this zone, again, you'll see bullish market structure. So right now, we're just seeing consolidation. If you see a clear movement to the upside, pushing into this zone, we can see clear higher lows and higher highs. Again, for respect of this region, we need price to be reversing or breaking market structure. Okay, so that's where we are right now in terms of euro dollar on the 1 hour, right? This is a potential resistance area we can look at, right? Targeting this low that we have to the downside here. Okay, so this is on euro dollar. Now let's take a look at gold, right? And if there are any other chart requests as well, just feel free to type them under the questions chat. Okay, so let's take a look at where we are on gold. So if you take a look at gold on the monthly, you can see this region, right? So nothing much changed on the monthly time frame. Prices came into this zone. Let me just remove this, right? So you can see this high, the price tested 3 times as a resistance area, and also a potential breakout retest of this region on the monthly. If you move down to the weekly time frame, you can see that last week on the weekly, right, we saw price break and close to the upside here. Currently, we're seeing a retest of this potential demand area that we have, this zone over here. Okay, so this is on the weekly time frame. So you can see that when price starts pulling back into this region, this area that we have, right, this area, we also have a descending channel. The prices could potentially be testing, right? This is on the weekly zone. So this is where we are right now, right? So on the daily, so again, you can see that price starts pushing into this region on the daily time frame, right? So this area here, right, when price starts pushing into this zone, we have 2 things to note, right? So one is that when it starts pushing into this area, right, this region on the daily, you can see just this whole move to the downside, right? It's still forming lower lows and lower highs. Just looking at the candles, you can see this area. Even if I were to put this levels in close, you can see on the 4 hours daily, right, this structure is still bearish, right? So price did not break above the high. You can see just in terms of the structure, right? So this is currently where we are right now on the 4 hours time frame. If you take a look at the daily, right, so this zone that we have over here, right, on the daily, this is the region, right? So depending if we do see a reversal from here, right, the nearest target that we have on the daily would be this high, this region that caused the pullback, this area here. And so this region, if I put this level in close, you can see, right, it's basically this region that caused the pullback, right? So we could see price retest the resistance area, right, before consolidation. If we do see a clear move to the upside, right, price would start consolidating on the lower time frames first. Now let's move down to the 4 hours time frame. You can see on the 4 hours is still bearish, right? Right now we're just seeing price moving within this range. You're seeing this range that we have over here. And so we need price to break and close to the upside for this move, right, before it continues much higher. So previously on this zone, right, you can see that this region, so every time price comes in and it creates a pullback, the high itself can be a potential target. So if you take a look at the previous area here where price consolidated, you can see that when price did a pullback, so essentially this area here, it created a high, which can be used as a target. Right, so when price broke to the upside, it did a pullback into this zone, right, came into a potential demand area here, which is also this area of consolidation. Right, so you can see the first time price came in, we saw a break and close to the upside with this move. You see price break and close to the upside. It retested this demand zone again, right? And then this was the high. This was the region that caused the pullback. So price, this is a potential target. And then when you do the same across, right, you can see that again, this is the demand area that price came into following a break in structure to the upside, right? And this pullback itself creates a potential target, which is this zone. So once price starts reaching the target, right, this area here, right, we could see that reversal. So with the same thing in mind, you can see that this zone that we have over here, right, this currently, this region that we have, you can see that this area, this was the high that caused the pullback, right? But on the 4 hours, right, unlike the previous structure where we saw clear higher lows and higher highs, right now where we are on the 4 hours, right, there isn't any clear bullish market structure, right? So this is on the 4 hours time frame, right? So if you just compare these two zones, right, where we see that slight deeper pullback. So if you move down to the 1 hour time frame, just this zone alone, this area of consolidation, right, probably have to wait for price to play out further. Right? If we do see any pullback of this region, right, the immediate resistance on the 4 hours comes in over here. Because this is the last low that we have where we saw price broke structure. So you can see a break and close to the downside, right? So this serves as a potential resistance area. If I put these levels in close, you can see also, this is the zone that price tested as support multiple times before see a clear break to the downside. So that's on the 4 hours time frame. If we move down to the 1 hour time frame, you can see on the 1 hour, right, this whole zone that we have, right, we're just seeing that consolidation to the downside. We're seeing equal lows being formed here. Okay, so this is currently where we are right now, price broke structure. So this on the 1 hour, right, we have a potential demand area on the lower time frame. This is on the H1. So if you take a look at it on the H1, you can see this region here, right? So again, this pullback that we have on the H1, this would be the short-term target for longs, right? So the idea is that if we do see a deeper pullback on the daily time frame, right, we need to see price starts consolidating and changing market structure. So what we mean by this is that you can see this whole leg that we have to the downside, right? Prices were forming bearish market structure, lower lows, lower highs. And during consolidation, you can see this is the last high that we have, equal low. So for price to continue much higher to the upside, it has to break and close above this zone, right? So this region here, because there will be an indication of a potential change in market structure. Okay, so right now, this whole leg that we're seeing, right, it's basically this portion. So if there's any break to the upside, we need price to break and close above this high. Okay, so this is currently where we are right now, right? If you take a look at it on the 1 hour time frame, you can see that this zone that we have over here, price came in, right? So if I take a look at this high, it's probably going to consolidate, right? We can wait for New York session, right? So this is the region at 1909.70. If I take a look at this low, right, it has not tapped into the demand area on the 1 hour yet. So let's wait for it, right? Probably when New York opens. And so this is the high that we have that has been targeted multiple times, right? So depending on how price reacts here, if we do see a close, right now you're not seeing any break and close to the upside. You can see on the 1 hour prices are just it just tested the high, and then we're seeing that pullback again. And right now, I believe more movement, right? Clearer direction will come in when New York opens. Okay, so that's where we are right now. And so one thing about gold is that gold is also dollar denominated, right? So if we are expecting pullback in the dollar index over here, right? So if you take a look at back on the dollar index, you can see on dollar index, right? It's pushing into a potential resistance area, right? So it's also forming your rejection here on this high. this area, right? So just on the 1 hour itself, it created a demand. It creates a potential target for us, right? So if you're on the 1 hour, this region that we have, you can see not so much on the 15 minutes. So this is basically the range that we're trading within. Right? So if we want more confirmation, we need to wait for price to break and close below the 15 minutes zone, right? The low, or even below this, basically this demand zone that we have here. So if we do see a pullback, a break and close to the downside, right? This pullback on dollar index, right? This short-term weakness could then be a boost for gold as well. Okay, so this is currently where we are right now, right? So this is the zone, or rather the range that ideally we see a break and close to the upside. Okay. So that's where we are, right? So in terms of this region, right? So this is the range that we have on the 1 hour time frame, right? If price breaks and close, right, pushing higher, right, we have the 4 hours resistance area, or resistance zone over here, right? So this region. So this is the whole move that we have to the downside, right? So if we do see any pullback, this whole region, we can take a retracement of this move from the highest to lowest point. So when you take a retracement of this move from the highest to lowest point, you can see that this zone that we have, the 38.2%, lines up with the 4 hours resistance area here. Okay, so this is currently where we are right now, right? Hopefully, so hopefully when New York session comes in, right, it's clearer. Okay. So this is where we are. So let's see, right? So this region, right? So again, let's wait for this, right? You can see that when price starts pulling back into this zone, so if we do see a strong move to the upside, to the downside, sorry, you can see this zone, right? If we do see a rejection from here, right, the lower time frame has to start turning bullish first. If not, this whole region, right, we'll just avoid the whipsaws. Okay. So it seems like gold is breaking this zone altogether, right? So once the region has been reached, so we saw on the M15, essentially you can see, right, price came into the zone and then it broke, it hit the target. And then right now we're just seeing the strong move to the downside. So let's wait for the candles close. But that's the idea. So essentially when price starts doing pullbacks, right, and it creates a zone to be a target, right, once the target has been reached, right, then this is a region that we have to be aware of. So if price starts coming into this zone again, we're waiting for a break and close to the upside, right, above this range for gold to turn bullish. And so likewise, if you take a look at where the previous consolidation area, right, the same zone, this region here, you can see pretty much the same idea. So this whole area that we have here, you can see that the demand area, when price came into it, right, this whole pullback created a resistance target. And once this resistance target has been reached on the lower time frame, right, this whole leg that we have, right, price starts turning bearish. So this whole move, right, or essentially what you call a double top, and then price starts turning bearish, right, with bearish structure here, lower lows, lower highs to the downside. It did a pullback, right, and then before it continues much lower. So again, right, you can see this whole move, and price did a pullback. What it created was a potential target. So when we see this and a potential pullback, it creates this region here. Okay, so if we take a look at dollar index, right, likewise, you can see this zone. So strong move to the upside here, probably driven by news. Okay, so we probably have to wait for the candles close to see where we are, right? You can see that this whole region that we have, right? So again, when price break and close to the upside, so this whole region on the 1 hour or even on the 15 minutes, you can see that pushing into the supply zones, right? It's still bullish, right? We took a look at it on a 1 hour earlier. You can see this whole structure, it's still bullish. So if we do see any signs of reversal, right, we need to wait for price to turn bearish first on the lower time frames. So this is also one way it can help us to avoid, right? Instead of that, just taking immediate entries on the supply regions here, right? We're waiting for that change in market structure to happen first. So basically a break and close to the downside for this zone. Okay, so I hope that this helps, right? So let's, okay, so that's what we have, right? If you guys have any other questions, right, just feel free to type them under the chat. You're most welcome, Connor. Okay, thank you for the support as always, right? It's great to see you here. So just before we end the session, right, just have a quick announcement to make. So we have an exciting piece of news for our Value Advantage clients. You now have an incredible opportunity to win a fully paid trip worth $4,000 to the UK to attend the prestigious McLaren Gala dinner on 4th of October. The winner will be treated to a delightful 3-course meal and have the privilege of meeting the drivers from the new McLaren Extreme E team in a private meet and greet session. Making the occasion even more special, we have Vantage Global ESG Ambassador, Supercar Blondie, will grace the event with her presence. As a cherry on top, the winner will get an exclusive tour of the remarkable McLaren Technology Center. So in terms of how you participate, right, all you need to do is follow the Vantage Markets Instagram account and submit your details via a form by 17th September. So you can actually scan the QR code in the slide, right, to get the links to this. So one lucky winner will be contacted via email by 20th September 2023. Best of luck to all of you. Okay, so that's what we have for today, right? So if there are any other questions, okay, let's take a look at it. I'm so sorry, right? I missed the comments on Zoom, right? So let's take a look at the comments on Zoom. Okay, so we do have requests for dollar franc, right? So let me take a look at dollar franc and also NASDAQ. Okay, and I have a request, I have a question, right? How do you choose this exact H4 low on euro dollar? So let's take a look at that. Right, so if you take a look at euro dollar, H4 low on US dollar. Oh, I believe you're talking about this. Okay, so this low, okay, you can see that this H4 low on US dollar, right? This was chosen with this area here. So you can see that when price did a pullback, right, it pushed back into a potential supply region, right? This whole area that caused the pullback, you can see that price did not break up and close above the high. So the idea is that if price starts coming into a resistance area and on a lower time frame, it starts turning bearish, right? It creates this as a potential target. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Chris, right? So essentially the H4, it's basically the area that caused the pullback or the low that caused the pullback. Okay, let's take a look at dollar franc and NASDAQ. Okay. So let's take a look at that. Right, so this is currently on, let's take a look at dollar franc. So let's take a look at the higher time frame first. So if we take a look at the higher time frame on dollar franc, right, this whole region where we have on the monthly, we can see that prices are testing this zone over here. This whole region that caused the pullback, right, we're seeing a resistance area here. And if I put these levels in close, you can see this clearly as well, right? This whole leg that we have, prices were in a bearish market structure, right? So lower lows, lower highs, and right now we're pulling back into potential resistance zone on the monthly. So again, right, you can see on the monthly, right, this whole region that we see a move to the upside. On the weekly time frame, it's still bullish structure. You can see clearly here, right, prices forming clear higher lows and higher highs, pushing into this zone. So you can see this region, right? Prices are forming clear higher lows and higher highs, pushing into this zone. So on the weekly, it's still bullish. If I put these levels in close, weekly, daily, you can see this area that we have, right? On the weekly, it's still bullish. On the daily, right? Even this whole region that caused the pullback, right? This is where we are right now. Okay, now if you take a look closer at this daily zone that we have here, right? So this is currently where we are right now on the daily. We can see that price came in, it tests a demand region over here. So you can see price broke and closed to the upside, and then we see a retest of this zone, right? And then price came in, and this daily target, basically the daily that caused the pullback. So if I were to pen this out, you can see price broke to the upside, close. So this high itself created a target. Right? And what happens? Price came into a demand area and this target was reached here on the daily. You can see this zone. Right? So this is on the daily. So again, this is what we have, right? So if price fails to break and close above this, it creates a daily low that we need to see price break and close to the downside, right? So this is the daily low. So again, this low is because this is the region that caused the pullback, right? If I put this levels in close, you can see as well, right? So this is basically the area that caused the pullback. So this is where we are right now on the daily. So this zone, right? So which also means that if we do see any bearish market structure to the downside, right, price forming clear lower lows and lower highs on the 1 hour, 4 hours, we don't need to take an immediate entry, but what we want to see is bearish structure. So it can be in the forms of price forming lower lows and lower highs on your 15 minutes or even your 1 hour. And so when price starts keeping to that structure, right, then we can enter targeting this low that we have over here. Okay, so this is the current range that we are trading on dollar franc. Right, so you can see on the 1 hour time frame. Right, so this is still choppy. Right, still choppy. Price came in, so you can see this whole move. Right, price came in, it hit the high, which was the target. Right, that caused the whole pullback. So it creates this region as a potential target once this area has been reached. So once the target has been reached, what we're waiting for, it's clear bearish structure, right? So we have to wait for further developments, essentially when price forms with lower lows and lower highs, right? Or if for those of you guys who are familiar with the structure, right, essentially we're looking at bearish candles, right, breaking the subsequent low. Okay, so once that happens, right, it creates a potential resistance area for entry, and this can be a potential target. Okay, so this is currently where we are right now. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. So if we take a look at NASDAQ on the monthly time frame, right, we have this zone. Sorry for that. So we have this region over here, right, the resistance area. On the monthly, where we saw rejection previously, right, that's on the monthly time frame, right, you can see that this whole move that we have, this whole region, we are seeing structure, we are seeing a demand area that prices are currently testing within this zone. If you take a look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that we have the high that caused the pullback. So this is the region that caused the pullback, right? And right now on the weekly, you can see this zone just within this leg itself, right? Prices are still in a bullish structure. If we move to the lower time frames, on the daily time frames, you can see this region that we have on the daily. Right, so this area that we have over here, we have a potential resistance turn support level. This whole area, right? If I put these levels in close, you can see this was the region that price tested as a resistance previously, and currently it is testing this zone again as a support. So this is where we are right now on NASDAQ, right? So apart from this, what we can also do with this move, we can take a retracement of the move from low to high, essentially trying to identify if there are any Fibonacci levels that line up with the zone. You can see there's a 38.2 retracement that lines up there. That's on the daily time frame, right? So you can see this whole move to the downside, this whole area that we have, right? On the 4 hours daily, you can see this clearly, right? So what we have here, we have price forming lower lows and lower highs. And then subsequently, right, price broke to the upside and close to the upside. So this is where we are right now on the 4 hours. And this is also a potential demand region. You can look at this area here. So this support region. So again, when price starts pushing into this zone, right, if it pushes into this region, right, you can see that we have, for price to respect this demand area, we need to see a reversal in terms of the lower time frames market structure. So this whole zone that we have, right, be it on the 4 hours, you can see here, pushing to this area, we have again bearish structure. So just looking at the last leg of the move that caused that pullback. So for price to come into a potential demand area, or for it to reverse and continue with its primary trend, right, we should see a reversal on the lower time frames first. So this come in a form of bullish structure, or even just looking at candlesticks on the higher time frame, right, you're just seeing clear higher lows and higher highs. Okay, so we're waiting for that trend to be established first, right, before any potential entries. So this is currently the key levels for me, right, on NASDAQ, right? So this whole region that we have over here, right, this serves as a potential demand. We could have an ascending channel that prices are testing as well, but as you can see, right, with this pullback to the zone, right, for price to continue to the upside, this whole pullback, this whole leg that we have, right, we need to see a change in market structure on the lower time frames. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I believe that those are all the questions that we have. Yep, I believe those are all the questions that we have, right? So this is what we have for today, right? For tomorrow, right? For those of you guys who are keen to sign up, you can go to vantagemarkets.com, under education and tools, right? So we have upcoming sessions. For tomorrow, we are covering on reversal patterns with price action. So if you have any questions, or if you have any other setups, right, do put them under the questions chat. If not, right, do sign up for the session tomorrow, right? So this is via Zoom, or you can also stream in via the app. Okay, you're most welcome, Jamilu. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of the session. If there are no further questions, right, that's what we have, right? So thanks everyone for staying with us till the end, and we will catch you guys again tomorrow.